We're talking about how Cam Atkinson, the buyout, a trade, whatever it might be. The Flyers are looking to clear up their cap situation for like a year or two from now when they are looking to actually pivot and become a competitive team. So we got a mailbag of the day question from Stackatoshi that I did actually find a little interesting because he asks, we keep hearing the team will have more cap flexibility after next year, but will they? They have to sign York and Foerster. If they sign TK this year at around the rumored amounts, I don't see how they will have much cap space. And you look at some of the upcoming deals. Morgan Frost is going to need a deal after this year. He mentions York and Foerster. Obviously, we've talked to death the TK situation. There is a lot going on here where this thing might not be as cleared up as we think. What's your take on this, Charlie?
I think this is a little bit of an overstatement. TK, if they re-sign him, yes, he's going to get probably somewhere in the 9s. So right now he's at 5.5. So that would be what, a 3.5 to $4 million raise. It's not insignificant. But if you're looking at York and Foerster, I caution overrating how much they're going to get. Like, you know what gets guys paid? You know what gets guys big contracts? Points. Tyson Foerster, look, I'm hoping he has a big breakout this season, a big offensive breakout, and that would be a good problem to have if he goes out and scores 30 goals and 70 points, and we're like, holy shit, they have the next Mark Stone. Chances are he won't, because most guys don't. Most guys, it's usually a more, gradual trajectory. Looking at Cam York, I know everyone is really, really high on Cam York right now. He had 20 points in his first year. He had 30 points in his second. I don't think he's going to make an insane amount of money. Is he going to get a raise? Sure. He's going to get a raise. Absolutely. But I don't think it's going to be nuts. I don't think he's going to be breaking the bank. I think, truthfully, Foerster and York are two guys that they could plausibly try to get on those below mark, well, not below market, but surplus value deals that you're saying the Flyers don't have enough of. Those are two guys I look at and I say, yeah, they might be able to get those guys on cheaper deals as opposed to the value that we can expect them to provide over their 20s. And then you have to account for the fact the cap is going up dramatically. Like, they are going to have some pieces going off the books at the end of this year. They're going to lose Cal Peterson. Then you're presumably going to at some point be trading away Rasmus Ristolainen. In 2 years, hopefully, as long as he's not bought out, you're going to drop Kevin Hayes. Like, they are going... The $1.66 million buyout penalty for D'Angelo goes away.
Still on the
There's
books.
a lot of things that are going to go off the books at the end of 2 years, and I don't think that Konecny, York, and Foerster are going to be nearly enough to eat all that up, especially when you account for the fact that the cap is going up significantly. These $4 million a year jumps, these are going to be a regular thing. And what we're talking about is when we're talking about when the Flyers are going to have a decent cap situation, we're talking really about 2026. That's
summer 2026.
Summer 2026. We're probably talking about another $8 to $10 million of a cap ceiling. We're talking about Hayes, D'Angelo, Peterson, all them off the books. We're talking about Ellis. If they need to, they could probably then just dump him to somebody to stash him on IR. They're going to have a lot of cap space cleared up. Ristolainen, my guess, will be gone by then. They will find someone, you would hope, or maybe they buy him out because they're just done with him. I don't think, Stackatoshi, I appreciate the question. I think it's a little doom gloom.
I think it's an interesting question because we haven't really seen a ton of how Danny's going to handle players in the situation of Tyson Foerster. Like Owen Tippett, bit of a different because he already had the first, at least, stage of breakout with the 27-goal season. Then they re-sign him to a long-term deal. But I'm looking at like a Joel Farabee where it's like, yeah, 5 is a pretty good number. And then if he takes a step during this contract, it's like, oh, but that was a previous regime.
Right.
We don't know if they're going to try to long-term him. They just bridged Morgan Frost. It's not like they gave him the 5 years. Oh, obviously, why would you sign him long-term when the coach doesn't like to play him?
This is fair.
But I think it's going to be interesting to see how these things play out over the next year or two, just to get a better sense of what Danny's go-to philosophy with these players is going to be. Does he want to give Cam York 8 years right now? Like, fuck it. This is his prime right now. Let's sign him.
Let's get him.
Have him have the cost certainty there. And if we're overpaying him a little bit for the first 2 years, but it ends up being a great deal for us in year 4, who gives a shit then? Right. Like, we'll see what his philosophy is with these things, but that would eat into the cap number. We just don't know exactly what he's going to do in that. Like, I don't have a good sense of how he's going to handle that yet. Like, oh, he's going to want to give Tyson Foerster the 5-year deal right now because that's what they did with Joel Farabee. Well, like, he didn't sign the Joel Farabee contract.
And also, it takes 2 to tango. Like, I don't think you learn too much about Briere's preferences in terms of signing guys by what he did last summer. Because I think the guys we're looking at are Frost, York, and Cates. I don't get the sense. I don't get the sense that any of them, understandably, because the cap is going up so much, any of them were particularly interested in talking long term. It was like, nah, we'll bridge. We'll bridge to the point where the cap's $10 million higher than it is now, like, and then we'll cash it.
My cap percentage could be the same, and I'm getting a shit ton more money. Like, that's just the way it would be for them. So no, it doesn't. It didn't make sense for any of them to be like, oh yeah, 6 to 8 years, done. Like, no, that's really stupid. Like, mathematically foolish.
Now, this summer, or not this summer, next summer, when, as Sakatoshi says, you will have guys like Foerster and York, and I guess Cates, although Cates, I mean, at this point, unless he has a massive offensive breakout this season, he's probably always going to be on the lower end and just going to be a useful lower end guy. That's cool. Foerster and York are guys that you're projecting to play in the top half of your lineup for the next 5, 7, 8 years. It will be interesting to see what kind of contract negotiations those guys have. But I'm not concerned that by signing those 2 guys and Travis Konecny, that the Flyers will be putting themselves back into being crunched up against the cap. There will be flexibility given the amount of stuff coming off the books, given the fact that they're not presumably going out to sign more free agents over these next couple of years, so they're not going to complicate it even more, and especially given the fact the cap, price of the bricks going up.
You know, we keep talking about this, and I expect it to continue to rise at the current projections. Like, I know it's not hockey-related revenue, but at a certain point, the PA has to be like, yo, we're going to 34 teams, and you're getting like $1 billion from each one. We need a piece of that.
And it is hockey-related revenue to a point, because that means more gate revenue.
It's just like, at a certain point, we need a piece of this. Yeah. But there will be a CBA in like 2026, so we'll see.
We all silly like the mayor.